Hello, and welcome to Andrew Broussard Watercolors. Today, we are going to do a fast and loose watercolor landscape painting. In front of me, I have a quarter sheet of 100% cotton paper. I'm not sure what brand it is. Most likely the Stonehenge Aqua, and most likely 140 pound. I've been using a lot of the Legion Stonehenge, the 90 pound, and this is the first time in a while that I'm using this paper. I'm going to use the medium Ranson hake brush. I sprayed my palette with some water just to kind of reconstitute some of my pigments. And we're just going to kind of go to town and play around and let a landscape appear as we go along. I spent the first half of the summer preparing for a certification and working on that for work. And then the second half of the summer was spent preparing for an art show, which we set up yesterday and will be up for the next 2 months. I had wanted a variety of mediums, so I was playing around with a lot of different things, and that resulted in me feeling really rusty today, pulling out a quarter sheet of paper. It's also been very, very hot down here in Louisiana. The feels like right now is 105, and it's past 5 in the afternoon. And you probably heard that rumble in the background. That's some thunder. So we haven't gotten rain in a while, so we'll probably get some. Just coating this with raw sienna, thinking about what type of image I want to take place. And I'm using my binder clips to flatten things out. Let's grab a little bit of ultramarine. Oh, that's a lot of it. I'd spritzed the palette and just touched my glob of ultramarine. That's how much came out. So setting up for the art show, and it's going to pertain to what I'm doing and some of the thoughts and ideas of today's painting. I had wanted a variety of mediums, but I also wanted a variety of approaches to landscapes. And for the past at least year, I've been doing a lot of monochromatic two-tone landscape paintings and really doing value studies. And some of those are representative in the display. This is burnt umber, by the way. Now, I did go through some of the stuff that I had up on Etsy and some of the stuff that I had in a binder from previous years. And when I put those in, and I matted them, I put them underneath glass, made them look really nice. And when I saw them up on the wall, I was like, even though I did use a lot more color then, and I was still muted compared to everybody else in the grand scheme of painting, my painting in general has just always been kind of muted. Even though it was still muted, it was very colorful to me in reference to just my other monochromatic studies and my earth tones. So I think today is going to be a little inspired by that. I'm not sure if it would be considered a step backwards or a step forwards. Sometimes it's good to go back and paint subject matter you painted in the past, kind of compare and see where you're at. And sometimes it's just good to just play around. Anyhow, I mixed in some light red oxide, and this formula I've used quite a bit in the past for distant objects. It mixed with ultramarine will give you a purple that recedes, and I believe this formula came from a book, James Fletcher Watson book. We'll use that. I'll grab some burnt sienna. I'll use that since it's warmer. We'll come forward, kind of get an idea of how I want everything to be. Maybe have a stream come through here. I'll grab some raw sienna. I'm going to feed this into the sky, but kind of patterned. This is a technique I used to use a lot for developing trees. And it'll soften and diffuse, and then I'll go back over it for more tree foliage. The whole goal is to just get a sense of depth there. Maybe I'll call this video a throwback to Ron Ranson. I have a video called Throwback to Ron Ranson from a few years ago, and this will be my throwback to the throwback. Burnt sienna over that raw sienna. So anyway, I'm very excited about that exhibit. Thank you to everybody that supports this channel and supported me throughout the years, because that really helps lead to that goal of having a solo exhibit and being in a museum locally. I never thought that would happen, so I'm really excited about that. Here's some raw umber. And if you want to support this channel, and if you like these free videos, I have links down below. I also have exclusive content up on the Patreon. So thank you to everybody that supports through there. And if you ever want to own any of my work, I have some easily affordable items up on the Etsy. And if there's ever anything that I don't post, because updating Etsy is kind of a little bit of a chore at times, but if it's on the Facebook page or the Instagram down below, just message me. I'll figure it out. I did my first shipment of something to the United Kingdom, which was really cool. Here's some more burnt sienna. They've been getting ready for those fall colors. And I have some lamp black on the palette. I need to rearrange that side of the palette. In the past, I would use Payne's Gray as the edge along water, but Payne's Gray can be achieved by mixing it with ultramarine blue, so I'll do a little bit of that, so then I don't have an excuse for not having Payne's Gray-esque on here. But I had spent a lot of the exploration, it might have been back in January, where I was literally taking lamp black and looking at it with individual pigments mixed into it and seeing how those experiments were running. And the Payne's Gray made its way off the palette during that time period, but it's going to need to make a comeback. Let me know down below if you caught any of the sales from Hobby Lobby this summer. They put a lot of the name brand paints, oils, acrylics, and watercolor on super clearance. I think they're just going to have their house brand on the shelves now. I know some people that stocked up for a lifetime worth of stuff from Hobby Lobby, so that's exciting. I'm curious to see where they go with that. Let's pull a little bit of this down here. I could hear the wind outside and the thunder in the distance. We're definitely going to get a thunderstorm. Hopefully we don't lose power. Let's see. I'm going to grab the #1 rigger. Oh, was that a flicker light? Or did I blink? Here's the #1 rigger. Start playing in here. I think what I need to do is do a phthalo blue series. Not solely painting in phthalo blue, but the greens that you can get from that are so beautiful and rich when mixing it with the earth tones that I really want to explore that. Though with this intense summer heat wave that we've been having, I really haven't been outdoors. I longboarded a mile yesterday, just a quick loop around the neighborhood, just to move around a little bit. A round edge. We'll see where we are at moisture wise. Not pressing hard because I'm thinking we're gonna have dark lines. Yeah, so if I was to scrape at this point, I would get backfills, and I'm not in the mood for that right now. So I'm gonna scrape in the foreground where we might get backfills, and that'll be fine because it'll dry darker and it'll give us these little marks. So just little clumps. And you know what? I'm talking about the phthalo blue. Let's do this now. Let's liven things up. And the phthalo blue, for me, I've always described kind of as a Vicks Vapor Rub menthol-y type color. But when you get the mix right, it really gets an interesting green going with it. To going back to Hobby Lobby, I think that they had some of the cobalt greens and things like that on sale, but I've never used pure like cadmium or cobalt, so I didn't bother picking it up. I had thought about it, but I just decided to leave it out. And if I wind up spending money on weird pigments or different, well, weird outside of what I use, I'll explore some more Daniel Smith earth tones. Though I was looking on Winsor & Newton's website, and they had some really unique earth tones available. But that being said, they weren't available in store at Hobby Lobby. So I would have to see if Blick or Jerry's would have those in the Winsor & Newton artist line. But that's for a single pigment exploration to get those unique values. And where I'm at art-wise, I don't think I would benefit with a palette of those paints. I have a lot of Da Vinci brand, Van Gogh brand, and the Cotman brand, and I really am happy with that. Since we're still wet and wet, I'm just feeding things in. And these branches and trunks will soften. And we're just going to work our way forward. Eventually there'll be a point where I decide to do a dry off. I'm not going to fiddle with the sky anymore, just simply because I have fiddled tons of times in the sky at this stage, and I'm just going to avoid that. I am taking ultramarine blue, mixing it with that lamp black, and feeding in the underside and some darks. Oh, I did attend some Stuart Davies Zoom meetings this summer. If you're not familiar with Stuart Davies, he is a painter that posts on the internet, and he paints in oil paints, and he does fast and loose tonalist paintings, and he's very charismatic and has great tutorials. And he did some live classes. And speaking of classes, I need to look into David LaFell, Bright Light Fine Art. I had watched some of his demonstrations when I had a account with that. I used the paper towel to lift some. And he did he did portraits and still lives in oils. And part of the summer, with preparation for the art show, was utilizing portrait work in different mediums. And it's always something I kind of go back to, but I don't go back to it for long enough. But I felt like this time around I was getting some really great results. Being that the art room is the art room and not a studio, raw sienna. Ooh, we're pretty muddy now. Let's go on the darker side of things. Since it's an art room, and I was doing some big portrait work, self-portrait work for the show in Conte and charcoal and all that, I needed it upright because if I had it laying flat like this, I would extend proportions wrong because of the way my eyes look down on an angle. So I was sitting on the floor with paper attached to foam board or cuts of wood and things like that, and working on self-portraits. And that was a lot of fun. Now we might be able to get some good white scrapes with a rounded edge of a tool. We got Harrison walking in. Hey Harrison, what's up, bud? Harrison's one cool cat. Hey Hammy. They're probably so used to me being in here and having music playing, and I was just filming time lapses if I filmed at all. I really don't want those to backfill with pigment, so I think I'm going to do a dry off here. Let's see where we're at. Alright, so I hit it with the blow dryer. You can see we had quite a softening take place. As the water gets removed, it lightened up. We did get the white scrapes here. We did, however, get some backfills here. So it was kind of risky at that point, and that's why I was hitting with the blow dryer that quickly. I just stepped outside real quick just to see the weather, and it's drizzling and it's cooling off quite a bit. It's quite windy out. All right, so anyway, so that softness, we can now go on top with the hake brush and other tools and kind of texture on top of it and create parts that will be more crisp and come forward in the image. We want to be careful of having a repeated stamping motion. And it's very easy to get the same tonal value. So I'm going to try to switch things up and grab more raw sienna. I don't usually add more water to the hake brush. In fact, most of the water on it is from the beginning of the painting. But I don't usually clean the hake brush either, so I brought a tree line down here. Foliage. This edge is going to want to have a lot of stuff going on. Let's see, that's some of that lamp black. So I could darken it tonally, just push that darker value. I can mix some variations. I will grab a little teeny bit of water. Hey, Hammy. We're gonna have to trim her claws again soon. So, Hammy has a thing of trying to get in my lap during painting videos. Right, Hammy? But not right now, bud. In a few minutes. And one of the things he would always do, whether he meant to or not, would be kind of put his claws into my thigh while I'm filming and painting live. And it would, you know, take all my willpower just to continue talking in this fashion while having a cat claw in my thigh. And I never cursed once during these videos having that happen. So, fun side note. Okay. But yeah, Hammy's my best bud. And we're taking that rigger, we're passing it over. I don't want to pass over exactly previous painted trees. This is just to create the sense of depth as it lays over on top of that. And we can scratch into this as well. Really don't have to worry about the backfill action. See, I'm just kind of scraping. Unless we're really going over it with that hake brush. You can get some unique, interesting branches. Just kind of let it go in a calligraphy type fashion. There you go. I think this is going to be just a lower bush here. Some burnt umber. Raw umber. And I think I'm gonna grab the number 4. So the number 4 rigger I use because it holds more pigment and just lets me paint quicker. So a lot of it is just about ease of access for me. And I wanted a big tree trunk coming up right there and there. With the hake, you can get it where you practice it and you kind of get it on its side and it'll pass along and come up. With the rigger, you kind of have to recharge it a few times through some black and just go alongside. So I'm not passing exactly over it. Then, grab even stronger. Have some quick foliage over on top. So I'm just going back and forth. Just lamp black, raw sienna, burnt umber. Honestly, for me, I think just having the limited palette and kind of whatever you use will work with it. I'm mixing some ultramarine into this, and you can see how it goes on, and you can see if you want to switch it back and forth. If you don't like it, use the paper towel just to lift it back up. Let's see. That black. Let's grab here. A few guys coming out of those rocks. And if you want to throw a few branches up in here, you can. But for the most part, just play around, be sporadic, explore the different textures. You can see how just simply the wet and wet wash in the beginning and kind of setting a whole tone for the painting. Then from there, how we can then go on top of it and see what we want to happen. Remember, this will lighten up as well. And in fact, let me pause this and do a hit with the blow dryer so we can see how it lightens up. All right, so for the most part, it's dry. Here, there's some damp spots. Usually I would go over a third time, darken things out. If I'm working straight from the tube, you can really start to push and pull things in different directions. But we're at the 26-minute mark, and I'm thinking that we might just want to stop this one here. And maybe I'll do a second filming where kind of just smattering around and playing around on top of that. So that being said, I hope you enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, follow, and thank you again to everybody that supports this channel through Patreon. I'm going to have a lot more fast and loose watercolor painting videos coming up now that the show is set up. So expect that, and if there's anything you want to see, let me know. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.